Hello, everybody. My name is Maggie Drover, and I'm a pre-service teacher at Memorial University of Newfoundland. And I just completed my winter internship and spent 3 months learning to become a science teacher, which was a whole lot of fun. I'm very excited to start working and hopefully have my own classroom very soon. But one thing that I picked up on when I was there that I just wanted to share with you today is how to use Biorender. So, as science teachers, we're always used to searching through the internet for different figures, pictures to include in our slideshows to really try to explain certain concepts to students. And one thing that I found was the challenge with some pictures having way too much information, others being a little bit too simple. And so sometimes to explain a concept the way we want to, we just want to be able to hone in on little particular details and edit them, right? And so my mentor teacher, he introduced me to Biorender. And that is a website that allows you to create custom images and figures tailored to whatever you're looking for. It's super easy to use. And there's a few particular features that I'm very fond of as well. So, for example, there's a tab where you can grayscale it and you can increase the depth and like the boldness of the linings of different images and things so that you can make sure that it will photocopy correctly and that even if you're having trouble with your printer that week, your students will be able to read it very clearly. So it's a total game changer, and I'm really excited to show you what I've made and give you some ideas on how you can use it too. Okay, so there's a bunch of different types of icons here. You can get anything as specific as you need, really. And I'm just going to pull up cell membrane, and I'll show you how I built the figure on the left there. So immediately you're going to see icons, but then you can go into templates, and this is the very first one here. One thing to know about Biorender is that if I try to go like this, the screen is too small. So this is something you're going to want to use on a full screen, or if you're going to split screen it, you're going to want to use a monitor larger than a smaller laptop. So you can hide this little tab. And what I want to do here is I want to get rid of any of this extraneous information on this figure so that when students are looking at a cell membrane and everything that's involved with it, they're not feeling too overwhelmed from the start. What I did with this presentation was I kind of gave an overview of all the main components here that are listed, and then we dove into each of the components more specifically. But what you'll see is that after making it, I was able to edit it as I went to only show them what they needed at that time. So they learn about the channel proteins, they see that, and then they talk about cholesterol, we're gonna add that. And now we're talking about carbohydrate chains. So I went in and edited my own image, and it's just like scaffolding that information, right? With any extraneous information not included. Okay, so here we go, we get like glycolipids now. And I also got rid of main titles that are needed here. Now, let's say that we want to check and see what this would look like if we were to print it on a test. All you're going to do here is look for the grayscale feature. So down here, click View in Grayscale, and that's what it would look like if it was photocopied. So if we wanted to create more contrast with this image, if we're not quite sure if they would be able to see it very well, you're going to double click this component and then pull this back out and see if we do a dark blue, how it actually shows up in grayscale is a darker contrast of like the black and white. So that would probably be something I would be more likely to photocopy. It depends on what you're looking for with that question. So if I was writing a multiple choice where I wanted them to see more of the phospholipids, I could change that color. If I was doing a multiple choice where I wanted them to focus more on the specific protein down here, then I would flick it to something a little bit lighter, like that. You can also change the transparency, so I could have made it lighter like that. And that way, immediately the contrast is shifted, so when students are looking at a question, it's very easy for them to hone in on what they need. So let's do another example. I'm going to go back into my gallery here. And here are a bunch of other images that I've made through the past few months. Okay, so here's another example. So in biology 3201 is when students start learning about embryonic development. And one of those aspects has to do with the cell layers. So this is a blastocyst, one of the stages, and you've got your trophoblast on the outside, and students learn that the implantation of that part into the uterine lining is what leads to human chorionic gonadotropin hormone being released, sort of the stuff that gives you morning sickness, right? And so we want students to understand that these outer linings of the cells, that make sense, that part, that is the part that's being embedded. Now the inside part, this inner cell mass, that's what becomes the embryo. So just looking at this picture by itself, it may not make a whole lot of sense right away. So Biorender allowed me to sort of differentiate between these cell layers here and then zoom in on that lining. Say this is the trophoblast, zoom in on this inside part, here's your inner cell mass. And how are we going to teach students the stages? So Biorender has a wicked template here of the stages of implantation. Now, I'll just show you how the initial template works versus what I made. So if we search here, human embryo implantation. We're going to go templates. All right. Take off our grayscale, just have a look. And this is a great template, but it is way too complicated for grade 12 biology, right? So they're not learning about ligands. I'm going to take that out. All these little features, adhesion molecules, they don't need to know the specifics about that. So having that there would just be a distraction and probably overwhelm them, right? So that's essentially what I did with this image. And the end result, after moving things around, looks like this. This is all they need to know. I've kept the image at the top right. I thought that was a great way to orient them at the same time of seeing where that implantation process is happening. I added a little arrow because you can never go wrong with a little bit more clarity with your images for students. And then you see stage 1. We've changed some of the terminology, differentiation, and then you've got opposition and adhesion, luminal epithelium. They don't need to know all of those specific words. We're just saying the morula becomes a blastocyst by differentiating, that's an important word for them, into our inner cell mass and our trophoblast, but I've got those words bolded now. And previously I had these parts labeled, and the reason why you're seeing that taken off now is I edited it to use this image on a test. So that's another great feature about Biorender, is because it is so clear, if students are used to seeing that image, if they see that same figure come up later on down the line on a test, they're more likely to remember how to label it. They say, I've seen this before, right? So number 2, you've got your blastocyst sticking to the uterine wall, and then parentheses endometrium. So we say that instead of this more complicated way of saying it, right? So overall, I just think that Biorender is a really great way to ensure that we're maintaining clarity, and because some of these concepts we're teaching can be quite complicated, and we don't want to cause any more barriers to their learning than we need to. That's the whole goal, right? Is to take down as many of those as we can so that we can reach a bunch of different students irrespective of their background and of understanding prior to that moment. So I hope you enjoyed my video, and I encourage you to go take a look yourself. It's a wicked platform, and that's everything. Thank you so much.